Alright, listen. Alright, I made another ghetto rig little area for my phone here, so I'm back, y'all. I'm back to it. So yeah, this is hopefully the last part of this message of why you should always be careful and vigilant of, you know, being an adult in the care of a child. You know, if you are a parent or aunt, uncle, whoever, babysitter, and you have to care for a child, just be wise. You know, parents, y'all can't just be out here just letting y'all children just be out willy nilly out here with people just because you gotta work or just because you feel like you can trust this person. You gotta be very careful. So, the first video I made was in reference to something that I experienced when I was 14 years old. It was traumatic, and it's more traumatic and traumatizing as an adult knowing that I was put in that position at a young age and nobody knew any better. The video after that, I was talking about an experience that I faced when I was a little younger than that, and I hope y'all watch that to the end. And this video right here, I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about when I was 12 years old. This is the same situation, scenario, the same people as the last video that I post. When I went to Texas for the summer, why you guys should be careful of, you know, who you let your children be around. So this is the summer that my stepdad, who was my mother's husband at the time, they were going through, you know, a breakup. That's all. You know, they were split up. They were, you know, living their own lives. They were still legally married, but this, you know, legally separated. So mom's on the East Coast, dad, stepdad over here, and we were in San Antonio, Texas. He had met someone, and the last video I shared with y'all something about this chick that was just so pleasant, and this is another scenario, okay, that you need to have your antennas all the way up for. So listen, stay tuned. One day, you know, my brother got into something with my father because of nothing. It was literally nothing. My dad had rules, you know, when it came to eating in certain places of the house. No eating in rooms, you know what I'm saying? And I understand that. We all understand that. There's some people are just like that. No eating in y'all rooms. When you eat, sit your behind at this kitchen table, and that's it. That's the only place you need to be eating. So those were the rules. So I remember this one afternoon. You know, my brother had to been, I forgot how old he was. He was very young. So he was in elementary school. He had went to the kitchen to grab a fruit. It was a plum, to be exact. He went to the kitchen to grab a fruit, right? And I remember hearing him run to his room, because what happened was, you know, when you ever do this thing where you in another part of the house and your song come on, or you hear like a catchy tune on the TV, like a commercial, and you just want to be there to see it, right? That's what it was. So my brother, he was in the kitchen and he heard, you know, the tune come on from that cartoon that he liked to watch. I can't remember what it was, but his show was on. So he ran, you know, he ran in his room, and he was just standing in front of the TV. Pretty sure he was gonna go back into the kitchen and eat his food, but he just had to catch that little, you know, the little commercial. So here comes Miss Big Bird Face comes running out there like storming after my brother. Never had nothing nice to say to us. Never. This is, mind you, this is somebody my dad is, you know, letting spend some time with us while he is at work. While he's at work. This is a lady who's spending time with us while he is not around. She storms in the room. I don't know if this lady was watching. I don't know if she was lurking. Like, she was just like desperate to find something on us. She goes in there. She's yelling at him. She said, "Hey, Didn't y'all daddy tell y'all about eating food in y'all rooms? And he froze. My brother was like, uh, and I spoke up for him because I'm the older sister. I was like, I saw what he did. He wasn't eating in his room. I said, that little thing that he did was run into his room because something caught his attention. It was a commercial that he liked, and the commercial was letting him know that his show was on. And so he just wanted to see it. That's all. But I promise you, if you look at this point right now, he didn't even take a bite out of it. He was just looking at the commercial. I'm pretty sure he was gonna go back into the kitchen because our daddy don't let us eat in the room. You ain't gonna tell me he got food. Why he got food in his hand? I'm just like, I ain't talk back to her because as children we are told don't speak back to adults. I was just looking like in defense mode for my little brother. I'm just like, okay, well, I ain't gonna tell your daddy, but I am gonna tell you this. Don't you dare go back in your room anymore with no food because you know y'all daddy don't play that. And we was like, yes, ma'am. And my brother was still like, yeah, because I don't think he had experienced that wrath from her before. He was just like, it's just a stranger really to him, and we don't know her like that. So that was that. Yeah, my dad comes home once again. His little pit bull is standing there. It was always the damn moment of her standing next to my dad to watch him, do his thing. So my dad standing there, in his uniform once again, come through the door. He was always just trying to put up for this lady. I don't know why. Bitch, you ain't had no balls, no backbone. You never stood up for us. Never even stood up for your fucking self. He comes in the room looking all fucking hardcore for no reason and shit. Like, bitch, pipe down. Fucking, here this little pit bull chihuahua goes. Telling like a little fucking snitch. That's the definition of a snitch. Then you lie. You just told this little kid that you wasn't going to say nothing. Then here you go tattletelling to try to get his an arouse out of him. And that's what happened. He was like, didn't I tell you not to be eating your food? And my brother was like, no, daddy, I wasn't eating any food. I just heard. And before he even said anything, as the big sister jumped into his defense, I said, daddy, I was right there. He wasn't eating it here. I said he was in the kitchen, and I heard, one of his, how he liked them little cartoons and them commercials and stuff like that. And I said, I heard him running there once he heard that song play on the TV, and it caught his attention, and so he just ran in there to be nosy to see what was on the TV. That's all. He wasn't eating in there. I was watching him just to make sure he wasn't, but he wasn't doing anything like that, daddy. My daddy told me, stand aside. He pulled his belt off and he whooped my little brother's behind in front of all of us, in front of me and in front of that lady. And I was just like, because I knew how my dad did. He just was like a little aggressive, little militant munchkin, just always aggressive. And as I'm speaking this right now, I see why my mother left you. I see why. You just couldn't control yourself, man. You pulled his belt out and beat that little boy. And it was like, for what? Like, y'all made something out of nothing, man. Like, and she stood there in satisfactory looking with her arms folded. I'll never forget. Looking like, you little bastards. I don't like y'all. I don't like other people's children at all. But I rule this shit. Like, you got it, sis. You rule it. Why'd you have to do it? It was something so small and petty. A plum. Bitch, the child just stripped him, of everything. You just whooped him, and my brother was a good child. And he's up there crying, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. After they walked off, I held him, and I was like, I'm sorry. I just rocked him and held him real close to me, and I told him I'm sorry, because that hurt me. That really did hurt me. Like, you didn't have no reason to whoop him. All because you wanted to show off in front of this old fuck-face asshole. Mind you, that was the last time I ever saw this lady, and I guarantee you the reason why God made it so that I never saw this lady ever in my fucking life is because he knew somebody was gonna beat the brakes off of her. You think my mama was gonna beat the brakes off of you? My grandmama would have flat you out, straight flat lined your ass out because of what you did after that. It did not stop there. So you gotta be careful of who you have your children around. I wouldn't have never let my children go back over there, but my mom was fair enough to, let us, partake in the festivities. Well, my dad ended up marrying this lady. I just remember we ended up having to move with our grandmother, and one day my mom received the divorce papers in the mail. The divorce was final, and I just remember mom breaking down, crying. And my grandmother, held her in her arms and, just was letting her know it's gonna be all right, okay? She just felt so bad for my mom, and she just was there for her. My mom broke down into my granny's arm while my dad sitting up there playing house with this evil witch. So that was that, and I just remember shortly after that there was a phone call, and after that phone call, my mom said, do you want to go? Your dad's getting married. Do you want to go to the wedding? And I just said no. I said no. Well, she let my brother go. That's his biological child. That was just my stepdad. He ended up going, and he stayed this summer. He was in a wedding and all that. And I just remember, that, like I said in the other video, the summers were like this before the kids went back to school. You know how parents do the 2 weeks before school? We got left, all the parents got time to do is shop. Clothes, shoes, school supplies, and that's what it was. So my mom was doing that, but it was time for my brother to come back home. So my mom made a phone call to my dad, and, his new wife to say, hey, okay, school's about to start in 2 weeks. You can bring him back. My mom never let us go back with this guy after this summer that my brother was over there with them, spending with them. She never let us go back. This is the reason why. So she made the phone call to, see that they, send my brother back. But when she made that phone call, she didn't get any answers. So she's blowing up their phone. Mind you, ain't no cell phones at this time. It's just a house phone or a pay phone. That's it. So mom's calling, and days go by. She's calling. She ain't heard nothing. She's, hey, it's time for Christopher to come back for school. I'm calling y'all. Can you return the call back? Days go by. I think another day go by. She ain't hear nothing. So I remember, Mama finally got somebody to answer the phone, and it was him, and he's on speakerphone. She said, hey, I've been trying to call you to let you know that it's time to bring him back for school. And I just remember hearing that he was like being, very difficult with Mama, telling her, hey, well, that's my child and he ain't got to come back. What happened was the lady that I'm telling you about now, that's now his wife, she's getting in his ear. He's a man. He don't got no balls. He ain't got no fucking say-so. He's always been a fucking wimp to me. I don't care how much. He was a muscle-bound military man, Air Force One dude. Everybody looked at him like he was tough. To me, he was very weak. He could not contain his emotions like most men nowadays. And some of y'all women too. But most men nowadays, come on, let's be real. If you a real man, you won't get offended by what I'm saying. But you punk ass motherfuckers on this earth that are giving women hell right now, shame on you. Shame on you. He's, on the speakerphone, and I was hearing that she might have been in the background, You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying this like I'm just recalling my memory because I was a child back then. So what I remember was hearing that my dad was saying, "Oh, I don't have to give him back to you because that's my child," and it was her in the background saying, "Well, why should he have to give him back? That is his child, bitch." All right. I just remember my granny having to save my mom from going to where they was living in Georgia at the time, Warner Robins to be exact. What happened was my mom blacked out. It wasn't no more talk. Remember when my mama hung that phone up, my mama got her little Honda Civic and drove. My mom had a cell phone. My mama had a cell phone back then. I do remember mama having a cell phone. So I'm thinking she got in the car and she just rolled straight there. She was about to go see about them. They was not giving my brother back. You hear me? So my grandmother had to call my mama because her intuition kicked in. She knew what was going on, but when she ain't hear nothing from my mama, she called and my mama answered and she let her know, hey, listen, you need to stop. You need to stop because if you do what I know you would be capable of doing, think about it. You're going to lose your freedom. You ain't going to be able to see no kids of yours no more. You ain't going to be able to see me. You ain't going to be able to see outside. You ain't going to be able to see nothing. You ain't going to be able to see that damn light. You hear me? If you go to them people's house, let it be handled accordingly. And so my mom had to stop and turn around and go back to the house because let me tell y'all what my mama was going to do when she hopped in that car. She was going to go get her child and kill those people. You hear me? And I get it. I get it. If she was too, I would understand why. But I'm glad she did because they weren't worth it. They weren't worth it. What happened was she ended up having to call, the base, the Air Force Base, Warner Robins, and, somehow, word got to those people that, one of your soldiers out here being a dickhead and doing the things that is, not right. You got the child, you're withholding the child, that is kidnapping. And so my brother came back home eventually. Mind you, my brother might have had been a 5, 6, 7-year-old child at this time, somewhere around that age. And that was that. He ended up coming back home, but my mom never let us go back with that man ever again. So, messages: be careful who you have your children around. What happened was that lady was persuading him, and you know how people can have influences over you. Listen, if you are an adult and you are over the age of 25, 30 years old, let me tell you something. Never let people have an influence over you so much to the point where you can't think for yourself. You hear me? Stop letting people control your minds. Because a lot of the time when they control it, they can corrupt it too, okay? Never let anybody have that kind of influence over you. If they don't have positive influences over you, then that's it. Cut them off. If everything about them is dirt, deceive, jealous, backstabbing, let's do some dirt, let's get in trouble, let's do bad things, cut them off. Don't be around them. Stop hanging around them. Let them go. He allowed that lady to influence him, and she was a new person in his life. And my brother ended up coming back home. I just remember to fast forward to it was about 2000. Mind you, that was in 1998, 97, 98, somewhere around that time. When we got older, we are now adults. I'm, a mother of a child, and my brother is also. So we're having a conversation. We're in our 30s at this time, and I just remember my brother telling me, yeah, I remember being at Daddy's house, and I just remember being in the situation where, Daddy and Stephanie. Oop, I slipped and said the bitch's name. Oh well, y'all know who it is. Cat's out the bag. Anyways, my brother was like, Daddy, they had they told me to go run into the closet because we had heard a knock at the door. And I was like, oh, okay. So he said, I run into the closet, and he said, I hear the knocking get louder. Police, open up. And he said, next thing you know, he said, the door opened, and all these, big, masked men in black suits with big guns was there, and one of them reached out to me and said, hey, little kid. He said the man was like, come with me. You're safe with me. And he ended up getting me and pulling me to the side. And he asked me, are you okay? Did anybody touch you? And my heart broke. My heart broke at that moment. And I said to my brother, I said, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. I said, I didn't know you went through that. I said, and it sounds like you're telling me as if you're, recollecting your memory at this moment. And he said, because I am. And I'm just like, y'all really had us going through stuff like that? Just imagine being a child and you got these big sled officers with these big guns and masks and all black coming towards you with a big rifle in your face and shit as a child. He had no idea what was going on. He didn't know it was that bad. He didn't know that monster of a lady that supposed to be my dad's wife at the time was, influencing him to, switch up on my mom like that. That was a child, and nothing like that should have happened. That shouldn't have happened to him. So my brother was telling me that this was a few years ago now. Me and my brother's conversation. This was like in 2018, 19 or something like that when we were having this conversation. It had been like 2018. That event took place in 1997, 98. For my brother to just now remember it, that kind of broke me at that moment. And it was not just it was everything. It was the woman in me. It broke the mother in me, and it also broke the sister in me because I was in Virginia at the time or something like that, and my brother was in Warner Robins, Georgia, and he was away from me, and I always remember being, his protector. If something had happened to him, I just always remember just hovering over him like, I got you. Now I just couldn't be there for him. So, the message, like I said, was for people to always be careful who you have your children around, because nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves that, So yeah, that right there is the message. Be careful of what you do when it comes to giving your children, access to other people's lives, or giving people access to your children's lives. It's never worth it. The predators are out there. And I'm telling y'all these things in the most innocent way as I can, because boy, I tell you, I can say some things, but I don't have the time or the day, to say all these things that I can say. But yeah, dads, when you and mom aren't, together anymore, you find a new woman. Never let this woman influence you to the point where you feel the need to disrespect the mother of your children. And mothers too, you always got to remember when y'all are in this situation where, y'all have joint custody, or you're, raising children in between two homes, you set boundaries. You got to keep it cordial. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be, cool with the dude. Don't go all fly on him and things like that because you don't like him no more. Y'all made that bed, so now y'all gotta lay in it, and you gotta be civil towards one another. Yeah, unfortunately, those things happen to us, and I know there are people out there that have more brutal stories to tell. You understand? Thank goodness. Hallelujah. Thank goodness that we did not go through those things like most people I've heard, share their testimonies with. with the world. Thank goodness we didn't experience it like that. But yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. Be careful and mindful of who you have your children around, because it ain't never worth it. As for me and my home, it's just my child and I have one child. You understand? Ain't nobody coming in here, as I don't trust people like that. And it's because of the things that I've experienced in my lifetime. You understand? Um, I'm not like my mother. I'm not like my grandmother. I'm not like my ancestors. So many things happen to people in my family, and I always feel like, if a finger needed to be pointed, it would be pointed straight at the adults, because ain't nobody coming around here, because I will stab, slice, blow up, shoot, guns ready, bullets right there. Ain't nobody coming around here. To avoid that, let's just do this. Let's just keep, them demons away. I ain't dating. If I do date, the dating is going to be way over there while my child way over here. You come around when my child sleep, I got to keep my eyes on you 24/7. But, to avoid that, I don't even partake in no activities right now. I'm focused on being a mama and raising my child, because fuck that. Fuck what you heard. Ain't nobody coming around here. Them demons are out there, and they strong. Y'all know it is. So, peace, you know what I'm saying? Y'all better keep them babies safe. I know that much, because them demons are on the prowl. They loose. Take care.